Should we change topic, Kim?
Yes.
And talk braving inventory?
Yeah. We have our recurring talk about Brené Brown and Dare to Lead. And she has something called braving inventory.
Mm-hmm.
We are on
A.
In the what braving. Does A stand for in Brené Brown's world?
It stands for accountability. And if we read it, I can read that for you if you want to. According to Brené's own statement, accountability. You own your mistakes, apologize, and make amends. That's the definition of accountability. Meaning, if I make a mistake, and since I'm human, I will. Whenever I make a mistake, to her point, I need to own my mistake. And Kim is now eating a sandwich right in front of my face. And he's now going to answer because he has a full mouth of a sandwich right now. What is your take on accountability, Kim? Go. Could be the worst timing ever for eating a sandwich, but here we are, folks. This is what I have to work with. All right, so this is pretty fun. This is by definition the part of accountability being, in order to be accountable, you have to be available. And right now, the availability portion of Kim Hindert is so and so. So,
because I had a sandwich in my mouth. Yes, that's a good illustration.
Sometimes I just wish everyone can see this live or this video session as well. Yeah. Anyways, accountability, Kim, going back to the topic. Accountability means if I make a mistake, and everyone does, if I start to blame and complain and claim that it's everyone else's fault why I made a mistake, or even worse, I don't even own it, I keep my mouth shut and I try to hide the fact that I made a mistake, then I'm in really deep water. Because what happens then is that if people find out the fact that I was actually the one who made the mistakes and I denied it, I'm going to look really foolish and I will lose face in front of my team, my family, my organization, whatever it is I am responsible for. So being accountable for your mistakes is vital, but it is also extremely hard.
Surely it has to be better to keep up the appearances that you're perfect than owning your mistakes in the long run.
Well, your ego will probably tell you to, but in the long run, no, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you badly because, once again, if you get caught in the fact that you have been either lying or denying the fact that you made a mistake, or you didn't own it at all, you start to blame everyone else around you. You can say, yeah, we acknowledge the mistake, but we don't own it. All of a sudden, I'm going to look extremely foolish and I will lose face and I will, in the long run, suffer because people will not listen to me. There's a golden rule in leadership, and that is whatever I say is completely irrelevant compared to what I physically do. If I say that it is important that we own our own mistakes and then I don't do it myself, then people are going to look at me and say, well, you don't even live your own rules. You don't even live your own the gospel that you spread. And if I don't, I'm gonna look stupid and I'm gonna lose face and I'm not gonna be able to lead that specific team. So in the long run, no, it's way better to take the medicine, take that very harsh pill, swallow it, and say it was me. Own your mistake.
But surely people will think less of you if you start to admit that you are not perfect.
Well, if that is the case, then that is the people who think less of you, who owns the problem, to be honest with you. That is their problem. And most probably they are scared to own up to their own mistakes. Because if anyone listening to this and you can actually, you claim that you never made a mistake, then you're lying. If you claim that you made a mistake but you never ever ever did not own it, you're lying as well, because every now and then we just don't do it. It's we call it white lies, I guess, right? And we do not want to own up to it. But the problem is when I don't, and if people see that I don't, then they won't either. And then I would create a culture where owning your mistakes is not going to be the case. We're going to completely say disregard all ownership and blame everyone else. And whenever we start do that, we have a very toxic culture.
So why is this so hard then? Because everyone can relate to when you're kids, you point at the dog and said it was the dog that ate the cookies.
Yeah, and problem is we never grow up, I guess. We are still that scared little kid, 5-year-old, who do not want to own up to mom and dad that I actually did a mistake where I broke something, so I blame the dog. And the problem is, even though I'm 42 today, I'm still a kid inside. I still have my fears. And that is the big deal here. You have to admit your own fears, meaning if I make a mistake, I have to stand there and look like a fool. And the risk of looking incompetent is one of the biggest fears we have in life. And if I have that fear that I cannot show myself incompetent in front of anyone, then I'm going to start to claim that it's not my fault. It was anyone else's fault. I was not responsible for my own actions. Well, you are. And simply put, no, it's one of the biggest fears that we have in our systems. And the macho ego comes in the way.
But surely, if I'm chief of security at City, it would be a lot better for sure for me to start firing everyone who makes a mistake. Because then we will only have perfect people who never makes mistakes.
Right. Exactly. Go for that idea and let's see what happens. No, what you do is that you create an environment where people start to fear you, and they start to be scared and fear the fact that they will be fired should they make a mistake. So they will never, ever own their own mistakes, ever. And then you will continue to have mistakes being done, but no one owns it. And you can fire the entire company if you want to. You're going to be the last man standing. And that's unfortunately, if we look to the real world, something that is being done on a regular basis, where CEOs and top management in small and large corporations fired their staff because they made a mistake, because then we have deleted the problem. No, you haven't. You have created a problem. You have created a problem and a culture where people now understands that if I fuck up, if I make a mistake, I will be fired. Hence, I will be scared. And that is not the environment where I will ever own up to anything. So, no, it's not a good idea to do that.
So, from a security perspective, you will never get the real fact on what has happened ever in that settings. So, that's not a good thing.
No.
There's a reason why you have this in medical professions, that you need to have a blame-free environment where you can discuss happenings incidents.
Exactly. So really what it comes down to in terms of accountability is you have to look one of your biggest fears in life straight in the face, of looking incompetent or looking like you do not know what you're doing. But in real life, when you're owning up to your mistakes, you create an environment where people will actually long-term respect you for doing that. Because all the people in the room in front of which you actually claim or say that you or own up to your mistake, they have the same fears. I mean, if you are in any type of situation where you work with people or together in a group, try this once. Just see what happens. Be the one who is brave enough to admit to the fact that you made a mistake. And then you will see the dead, complete silence in the room. You will even see people leaving the room, because if you ask them, now is your turn to admit to one of your mistakes in life, might not have to be work related, just to admit to one of the things that where you actually made a mistake. Own up to it. And then people are either going to be very quiet, or they might even leave the room, because you have just pointed out one of the biggest fears for them as well. So it's a human trait to be scared of actually owning your mistake. But long term, that is the baseline for leadership and long term success.
Mm.
So that's accountability.